Hello ladies and gentlemen, Gapester here. We're back with some more Hearthstone Arena action. And I've been ill for a bit. Hopefully I won't be coughing too much into the mic. I apologize if I do. We're going to play Shaman here. And quick update on my stats, as always, before we get started here. I'm at 74.40% win rate in arenas across 2,152 games. Shaman in particular is a bit below my average at 69.65%. So I have more trouble with Shaman than other classes, generally speaking. Anyway, but I do need a Shaman video, so we'll try to give this a shot. First pick here, we've got a Light Warden, which is pretty weak unless you can heal a lot. The only way to really reliably heal as a Shaman is with a healing totem, and that's hard to rely on, so usually it's a bad pick. Abomination is kind of a board clear mechanic, but with totems active, Abomination will kill just as much of our stuff as it will the opponent's. So I think Demo is the best pick here. It's tough to play it on turn 3 and have it survive, but if it can do a lot of work. Alright. Young Priestess I'm not a fan of. Her buff can be nice, but her 1 health means she dies to miscellaneous damage quite easily. Questing Adventure is more for faster decks. Warlocks, rogues, stuff like that. They can play a lot of cheap cards the same turn they play this. So I'm going to go Feral Spirit. It's a fairly efficient form of minions early on if you need them. Alright, wow, some really bad cards all around. The Murlocs are the worst. You can't rely on Murlocs, and these are bad. I don't like Raid Leader at all. I think its stats are far too weak for the spell text it gets. But it is the best choice of these. So hopefully we can use that with a Shaman totem to make some value out of it. Some more bad cards. Totemic Might is terrible. It's just card disadvantage for you. Adding more health to your totems is usually irrelevant since most of them can't attack anyway. Elven Archer, you can do 1 damage if you need to, but it's not all that useful in many cases. And then Rocketeer is 5 damage for 6 mana. Also not very good. I think I will go Elven over Rocketeer because I may have opportunities as a Shaman with totems to do other miscellaneous damage. Some more weak cards. Nightblade's probably the worst of these. 4/4 for 5 is too low. You don't need to do damage to the enemy hero in most cases. Raider's also not great unless you have a lot of weapons. So basically a rogue would draft these pretty heavily, but that's about it. Otherwise it's a 2/3, which is not great. So I'm going to go Guardian. You can kind of think of this as requiring at least 4 damage to kill. And often, if it can attack twice or take 2 hits, it's kind of a 6/4 minion. Alright, Wind Fury I'm not a fan of. It's basically spending a card to give Wind Fury effect when you have Wind Speaker. Right here, which for 2 more mana gives you a 3/3 minion on top of it. So this is far superior in almost every case. And then Cult Master has potential to be really valuable, but you have to have the right situation for it. If we have totems out that we can trade, especially, Cult Master can be really strong. So I think I'll go Cult Master over Wind Speaker here. Alright, Seer is awful. Again, Murlocs, can't rely on them. Protector's not really relevant. It's kind of a constructed card where you need to give taunt to Ancient Watchers and such. But in arenas, you just don't need to give taunt that often. And it's a 2/3 minion, which is subpar. Pyromancer is really good. You can use it with spells to do a lot of cool stuff. But otherwise, it's just a 3/2 for 2. Alright, Wind Fury we talked about. Acolyte. It's kind of a card draw mechanic, but it's tough if you can't damage it yourself. It's a very weak 3-drop. So I think I'll lean toward the Ghoul, and with the hope that I trade my 2-drop for their 2-drop, and then I play the Ghoul and get it buffed up. Hungry Crab is awful. Again, you can't rely on Murlocs, it's very weak stats. Molten Giant is best in decks that take a lot of damage, so generally Warlocks, maybe Rogue and Warrior that have a lot of weapons. Shaman probably won't be that. So I'm going to go Faceless Manipulator over that, even though it's tough to manipulate a good target in Arena sometimes. We do need a 5. Hungry Crab again. Blood Knight's pretty good. 3/3 for 3, and if you can get the Divine Shield from something, it's great. But Sea Giant is the winner. It's the best giant by far in arenas. Almost always you can cast this for cheaper than an 8 mana cost, 8/8, and that's great. Alright, well, we keep seeing these kind of weak cards, so I'm going to go Frost Elemental is the best. 5/5 for 6 is a little below par, but the freeze sometimes is useful. Mana Addict is awful. Its attack buff is temporary for the turn, and therefore this is usually a 1/3 for 2, which is subpar. Assassin's kind of a finisher card, but its health is very low. So I think I go Mana Tide here, since it will always replace itself the turn I play it. And if I can protect it with stuff like Feral Spirit, maybe, it can be really valuable. Urgent Squire is best used with a lot of buffs. We don't really have any buffs, so it's not that useful. Stormwind Knight is okay. 2/5 with charge means you basically do 2 damage for 4 mana, and you're left with a weak minion, usually a 2/1, 2/2, something like that. But Stormwind is the best here for sure. It's a great late game, really good for shamans with totems. Alright, Archmage is the worst of these. It's kind of a beefy minion, but its attack is a little low for its 6 health, or 6 mana cost, and its spell damage is usually irrelevant. So you only draft this if you really need a 6-drop. Loot Hoarder is a pretty good 2-drop. Usually you can face off against a 3/2. The problem is opponents that can do 1 damage can deal with it easily. And the Lightning Bolt is great removal. So, tough choice between Lightning Bolt and Loot Hoarder. Excuse me. I think I need the 2-drop, actually. Alright, Mechanic's the worst of these. The 2/1 Dragonlane Mechanic, or excuse me, the Mechanical Dragonlane, dies pretty easily to a lot of stuff, so it's kind of subpar, even though the total stats are 4/5 for 4. Fairy Dragon's a pretty good 2-drop, 3/2. Can't be targeted by spells, quite easy to keep alive, but Harvest Golem is the winner. Even though we have quite a few 3s already, it's just extremely powerful. Goldshire Footman's terrible. Should never draft it. Stats are awful. Tiger's pretty good. 5/5 for 5 with stealth. You get attack initiative, but Champion is the winner again. We'll go with the second one as some more late game. Rager is awful. 1 health, far too low for especially a 3 mana cost minion. Brewmaster's pretty good. 3/2, and sometimes you get the Battle Cry. So things we would maybe Battle Cry right now are missing. Maybe the Guardian. Maybe the Frost Elemental. So that's about it. There's not much to Brewmaster right now. And the Venture Co. is a really good 5. So between needing a 2 or getting a better 5-drop, I think the 5-drop is best. Yeah. Okay. Engineer was recently nerfed a bit, so it's not quite as strong as it used to be. It has 1 health instead of 2, but it's still a good card draw if you need it. Wolf Rider, 3 damage for 3 mana, and Bloodlust is kind of a finisher card. So I generally like to have 1 Bloodlust in my deck if possible, because I've run into a lot of situations where I have quite a few minions on the board, totems and stuff, but I can't do anything with them. Alright, terrible, terrible, and good. So we'll go with Frostwolf Warlord, even though it's another 5. Secret Keeper is also awful. Even if you have a lot of secrets, it's still pretty difficult to make use of. Auctioneer is great if you have a lot of spells, but we only have 1, 2, yeah, very few spells. So we're going to go with Sunwalker. It's a great 6-drop. Yeah. Alright. Raptor or Earthshock, tough to decide the weakest of these. Earthshock is basically a great card against a few very specific things. Scarlet Crusader, Twilight Drake, for example. Otherwise, it's a silence for a card, which is not a great thing, unless you have spell damage out. Raptor is just plain 2-drop, 3/2. And the Ogre's a great 6-drop. I would love to get the Ogre, but I don't think I can afford the late game. I have quite a bit of it already. I think I need the 2, because I only have 2 of them. So I'm going to go Raptor. Bluegill, 2 damage for 2 mana. Alright, Ogre again, but Dark Iron Dwarf is the winner here. It was slightly nerfed in some ways so that the Battlecry is temporary for the turn, but this means that no longer are you in a situation where you can't play this on turn 4 because you don't have any of your own minions out. You don't want to buff the opponent. So now you can always play this on 4, which is quite handy. Alright, Terrible Footman, pretty bad Grunt, stats are too weak, and Stormforged Axe is really good. Having 1, maybe 2 of these is quite solid early game. So we'll grab that. Alright, Shield Bearer is awful, you should never draft it. Bluegill again, but Fire Elemental is an auto-pick card. When you're drafting Shaman, draft every Fire Elemental you get, and you'll do really well. Or not really well, but much better. Alright, Ancestral Healing, not a fan of this card. Basically, it's card disadvantage when you play it, which is one of those cards I don't like. Best case scenario, you heal up something that's crazy strong, maybe a Ventrico in our case, or a Giant. But you still invest in another card to do that. So in order to get value out of this, that card has to be able to then kill 2 more things on top of, already kill something because it took damage, and then kill 2 more things. And then that card, say the Ventrico plus Ancestral Healing, would get 3 for 2, which is really difficult to do. Fork Lightning is great sort of removal, efficient removal. And Harvest Golem again for 3. I would love to get another Harvest Golem, but I think I have enough 3s that I should go with the removal of the fork. So I will. Alright, Frost Shock is a terrible direct damage spell. Earth Shock is far superior, because you get the opportunity to silence if you need to. But this card is just not worth it. Doing 1 damage for 1 card is generally weak, and the freeze is irrelevant. Crocolisk is pretty weak as well. 2/3 without spell text, not very good. And again, Fire Elemental is great. We have a lot of late game, but you just can't pass up the Fire Elemental. Deckhand is only really good for rogues that have a lot of constant weapons, ground we talked about, so we're going to go Engineer. These are all pretty good. So it's mostly about mana curve or difference of spells. Overloads, we have 1, 2, 3. Only 3 overloads, so Unbound is likely not that good. So it's between needing the Loot Hoarder for 2 or the Lightning Bolt for removal. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 2s is not bad. It's not good, but it's not bad. I think I go Lightning Bolt. I don't have one. Ooh, interesting. So Tidehunter is the weakest of these by far. The question is, can I afford not to get the 2? For my late game, it's crazy. It's just overwhelmingly high. Cold Master's out. I don't like getting too many Cold Masters. Let's see. Tidehunter, does it have any synergy with any buffs? Synergy with Ghoul, in theory. Maybe Raid Leader, maybe Cult Master, maybe Dark Iron, maybe Bloodlust, maybe Warlord, and Champion. Yeah, I don't think I can afford the 3rd Champion, even though it's a great card. If I have too much late game, I'm screwed. So I'm going to go Tidehunter. The last pick of a rare. We've seen these 2, and Imp Master's the best by far for a lot of reasons. We listed a lot of cards that we have that will be benefiting, or will benefit from having a lot of minions, so Imp Master helps with that. And it's just the best of these cards. Alright. Well, it's a pretty good late game deck, I have to say. The goal will be to hopefully not get too far behind in board control, which is always kind of the difficulty with Shaman. But if we can reach late game comfortably, we have really strong stuff here. So, one thing I'm missing is a board clear. I didn't get any lightning storms, which could be quite problematic. I do have one fork lightning and one lightning bolt. So that kind of acts as my removal.
Thrall versus Gul'dan. Your soul shall be mine.
Okay, so I have to mulligan pretty heavily for low-cost stuff, since I know I have plenty of late game. Alright, that's definitely lower. It's fine. I will save the Elven Archer until I can battlecry a minion. Succubus. Wow. So I'm going to play the loot order here because even though the Succubus will kill it, I can Elven Archer it to death next turn. Mortal Coil. Alright. So, Harvest Golem here. Jesus. That's gonna be brutal to deal with. Looks like I totem engineer, so I'll engineer first. Lightning bolt. I have to use this, otherwise this thing goes crazy. Next turn I'm shy 1 mana, so I only have 4. So I probably Archer Totem, unless I draw something better. Jeez, he is going crazy aggro. Soulfire on a 2/1. I mean, that's just bad. It's just bad play.
Silvermoon shall not fall.
Okay. We have really good late game stuff now.
Your magic shall not save
We might be okay. Fire Elemental, and that is great. I'll float a mana, but that's fine.
Remember, kill Talas. Handle it.
He's just giving me so much mana. Wow. Okay. So I'm going to play Pyro Champion. This will kill that. I could Fire Elemental, but I want this to be out so I can manipulate it, ideally.
Wanna blow something up?
So Manipulator, and then this can kill that. think I'll save the Raptor. Since he faces lethal.
Well played. Let the pain speak to me. You will.
Yeah.
Well played.
I just think he played poorly, to be perfectly honest. He played too aggressive. Maybe that's how his deck is set up. I mean, two arcane golems for the love of God. So he gave me 2 advanced mana crystals by playing those before I got to turn 10. Excuse me.
Thrall versus Garrosh.
Alright. Game 2 against some dude. Yeah, it's a warrior. This tough hand here. Really tough hand. I think I'll keep 3 and a 4. Okay. It's not terrible. I can coin on 2. But the raid leader is pretty weak. What I'll probably do is coin the Imp Master, and then I can raid leader potentially the following turn to buff the Imp. Okay. Hopefully he doesn't cleave, or weapon, or all sorts of things he can do. Damn it. That's unfortunate. I could lightning bolt. Or Ray Leader kills that with this. And dies to that. Excuse me. Yeah, I think Ray Leader. Hard to imagine a situation where it's going to be better for me. It's debatable whether I should have killed this, actually. If he has a heal, then that was the worst play for me. Ah, that's too bad. Feral Spirit's pretty good. I can triple overload and clear the board. Well, not clear the board, but... See, next turn I would have 2 mana, which is not great. Or I can just lightning bolt that and play demo. I think I'll do that. Riskier, but better for my mana curve. Shit.
my
I think I engineer order.
Mind if I roll knee? Wanna blow something up?
Oh no. Haha. Suck that. That actually is quite good for me. I can almost certainly kill this now, because he can only kill one of these. Oh, Jesus. That's a big deed. So never mind, I have to kill that. Ooh, fork lightning, though. That'll work. Cool fork lightning totem. Yep. Alright. Well, suddenly, we're in a pretty good spot. Fortunately, I have 5 mana next turn. Which is a little bit awkward for my hand, but... he only has 3 cards. Oh, I'm so close to being able to kill that. Do I assume the taunt will hold is the question against this. If I play Feral next turn, I have 6 mana. So yeah, I think I presume it holds. Nope, it didn't.
Hope you like my invention.
Do I fire elemental that? That seems so weak.
What to do? I wonder.
No. I think I have Feral Spirit. Actually, I should Pyro Feral Totem. But then the Ferals both take 1. So never mind.
There's little time. Remember,
The plan is to champion
Engaging TC
next turn.
into dislocator.
Well, that's good. He got the worst of my minions.
You gotta be kidding me!
And execute? Really? Okay. So a change of plans, fire elemental, so I can kill this. Okay. Looks like fire elemental has to kill that. Still 2 for 1.
I wonder.
With a raptor.
Behold the might of Stormwind!
My hand's broken. Alright, good. Tapped out. We did it! Just wore him down. Eventually.